And I believe we are live on the channel. So welcome back, everyone, to our afternoon show. This is an exciting show for the afternoon. We are talking about middle school math and Salvis. But just as a reminder, you can find all of the resources, all of the information on our JCPS NTI website, and let's hop over there to see what is going on. So it is jcps.me/NTI. This morning was another amazing show put on by our middle school ELA folks. Right now will be our middle school math Salvis episode. But if we were to look to see what is coming tomorrow, we have middle school social studies DBQ, and I do know that that is really an interesting and really fun filled with a lot of information for our middle school folks, as well as we're going to close out the week with our middle school science. So you can receive all of those resources. All of those links are clickable links, and you can find our slide deck in that link. So welcome everyone. Welcome Sarah, Casey, Christy. How are you? And Chris, how are you all?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well. Good. All right, so without further ado, I will now turn it over to Casey. And I believe, Chris, you are sharing your screen. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you this afternoon as we dive into our session today. And I believe, Chris, that is a different slide than what we have at the beginning. There we go. You can go to that PD roadmap. So we have our roadmap set out for you for our Salvis training this afternoon. Part one is just going to introduce you again to the platform. It's going to be led by Chris. Then we're going to get into instructional design. And then we will finish out our experience by talking about the student experience and how we can keep that consistent across contents of digital innovation. So our goals for today, we're getting started into that Salvis platform, looking at integrating Salvis content into instructional design, developing playlists, and then finally integrating all of this with our Google Classroom. As with anything, whenever we start designing and planning instruction for students, we want to make sure that we start with the Kentucky academic standards. Those standards are also linked in our frameworks. And within those frameworks, you're going to find all of these instructional resources that can be used to help design that course content. And then we're going to include the Salvis Realize platform and identify content and resources that can supplement our core course instruction. And then finally, implement our instructional frameworks and planning. That way we have a cohesive learning experience for our students as they explore mathematical concepts, ask questions, and make connections between multiple representations.
Casey, I hate to interrupt, but yeah. I can't see the presentation. So I don't know if it's just me and maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but I can't see any of the slides.
If you click on Chris, if you hold on to his name, you will see the slide deck.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. Didn't know if it was just me
or
if everyone.
No, it's okay. It is totally okay.
And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chris.
Terrific. My name is Chris Peterson. I'm with Salvis. I'm an educational consultant, happy to work with JCPS for the upcoming school year and hopefully beyond that. We're going to talk about the Realize platform. It's a web-based program that will house all of your information, all of your programs for whatever subject you're teaching. In this case, it would be math. On the first homepage, the landing page, you have 3 buttons. The first one is a browse button. The second one is classes, and the third one is data. And these also have a place up top for my library that we're going to discuss in just a few moments. The browse and the classes and the data buttons also correspond up top. You have places up there where you can get to them by clicking those links also. It takes you to the same place. The browse button is going to be used to get into your content, to get into your program. So that's what we're going to look at first. On the Browse button, when you click it, it will take you to a layout where you see any program that you've added to your Realize platform. And they're here, and you can star them to make them your favorites, and then sort them by grade or subject if you have multiple areas that you teach. I keep mine organized by favorites since it's easier to get to know that I'm going to be working with a certain grade level teacher that day. And that's up there in the upper right-hand corner of your Realize page. When you go to classes, the middle button, which is red, you'll go to classes, and there you can see the assignments that are going on in your classroom at that period. This example we have here is from the ELA section of Realize. So these classes are for ELA, but just examples. And then when you pull one out, you can see that you have different areas that you can look at. Assignments that are ongoing, to see what all has been assigned by class. You can see those for the different dates that they're due and items like that. And you can also see assignment by student, which you're seeing here now on this screen. And your students will be automatically enrolled. We'll go over that a little bit later. But those are here, and you can see assignments by student as to what that student has or has not completed. And you can go in and see details about each one from this screen also. The calendar view is very nice because it shows you exactly from that class when something is due. It doesn't show you when it was assigned, but it does let you know when that piece of work is due to you from the Realize platform in the Envision Math program. Students and groups, like I said, these the students will be automatically enrolled when you sync your Google Classroom to it. And that will be nice to have done. Also, I'll go ahead and let you know that when you have a student withdraw or when you have a student enroll, our servers at Savvis communicate automatically with yours through Clever, and those students will be added or dismissed automatically. But here you would have a layout of your students. You can also create groups if you wanted to have certain groups in bunched together, which is a nice feature also. The third tab, Data, will be where graded pieces of assessments are coming back to you. And this is a very valuable tool that we feel for teachers and for parents and students to see. Okay? Once again, it takes you to your classes. You would select that class so you can see the results by assignment, which I'm about to show you here. And there are three areas for it. The first area are the scores on their assignments, assessments, quizzes, different things that are automatically graded by Realize. And what that shows you is when it's pulled up, each of those bars represent an assignment, and they will be automatically graded. When we have some time, we'll get into this and look at it a little more closely, but just realize and understand that each of those bars would show a different assignment that you can click on and get more data from it. The second thing is the progress that students have made. Alrighty, it would show how much they've gotten done on a certain assignment. For example, the assignment that was given on August 20th, 100% of the class has completed it. Compared to, the assignment on August 31st, nobody has started it yet. The feature down here on the bottom, the little gray shadowing box, can actually be slid along this date timeline, and it will blow up the results to more specific areas up here in the top of the screen. The third area that it shows you on the data tab is usage. Okay, now this is the usage, how long a student spends on an assignment. Now realize that a student could log into the assignment, leave it open, go play on the game system, and it would count towards those minutes. So it might be a little bit skewed, but still, this is a pretty valuable tool at times when you want to discuss with parents how they've done and their progress. and items like that. So those 3 areas I showed you were by grades, by progress, and by usage. You can also look at assignments by mastery, by standard, okay? And when we pull that up, this is what it would look like. We can see that this class has been pretty successful with these assignments that we pulled out down here. It shows that this person, Sturgill Simpson, had 4 out of 4, so he's mastered the standard that we would consider if we're doing standards-based assessments. So that's a nice feature here that would let you go into that and see their mastery of standards here. It pulls out more data. It will pull it question by question, area, standard by standard, all of that to any question that relates to it. And like I said, when we have more time, we'll get together and talk about data a little bit more. The next part is a playlist, and a playlist is kind of like your filing cabinet, okay? A playlist can be, it's housed in my library, and when you go to my library, it's basically your file cabinet. It's a digital file cabinet of items that you like, that you know you're going to use. You can create your whole unit there that you want to, compensate for something you think you might need from this program. So your library and your playlist are very beneficial. You can upload files. So if you have a nice thing that math problem sheet that you created in the past, you can add this to your playlist here. You can add links from YouTube videos that you think explain something well, a game that you might have found somewhere that you want kids to practice through that, just many things. You can build your own test, numerous items that you can add to a playlist, and it's always stored in my library. You can attach from Google Drive when you upload files. I know the district is a Google-based district, so it connects straight from your Google Drive. That's capable to do that. So that's a nice part. Adding a link, like I said, of YouTube videos is very simple. It pulls up a pop-up box where you just paste the URL in there, and it will house it for you in that playlist. Looking at this one right here, this is a playlist that was created for this ELA section. And what they've done is they've added all of their pieces to it that they want, and then they can assign the whole playlist at once, or they can assign it piece by piece. So that's what's nice about a playlist that is always housed in my library up at the top of the screen on your Realize landing page. Okay. That's it for me, but I'm going to keep sharing, and I think I'm going to hand it over to Sarah or Casey here.
Yep, handing it over to me. So if we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
And keep going. I want to get to the goal slide.
Yep. Well, these slides were out of place. Let me talk about this right quick, Sarah.
Okay.
Up at the top of your Realize page, you have some, the bell is a notification. So when you have a new notification about like a system update, it's going to have a little red dot there. The next one is if you have questions. And one of the best places for you to go on this is what's called program training. It will take you to My Savas training. And that's a great place to find answers for any questions that you have. And this is a screenshot from My Savas training where you see we offer virtual workshops and items like that. The last is your ID. It's your settings page, all righty? And here you can go to settings and it will allow you to change classes, and we're going to get into the Google Classroom part of it in just a few moments that you will see down bottom. That's where you're going to link your classes, okay? And we'll get to that, like I said, in just a few moments. Also up top, you can choose your programs that you want to go to, your personal info. But the programs, you can go in and it will pull up a list of programs that you have access to that you can add to your screen, and it will always pop up in your Realize homepage. Okay, Sarah, now I'm going to let you go with it.
Yes, so now we're going to talk about how to integrate the Solvus content into our curriculum and instructional frameworks. And we just want to talk about instructional design a little bit. And KDE has definitions within their standards documents about procedural fluency, conceptual understanding, and the application of our deeper learning tool that we promote here in JCPS. So this is just a reminder that when we are designing instruction, we need to look at each of those stool legs to incorporate those deeper learning practices and create that instruction for students. So procedural fluency, it's more than just being fast. We want to be accurate, efficient, and flexible. And then the conceptual understanding is more than just knowing the isolated facts and methods. They have to be able to make sense of why a mathematical idea is working and how it connects to different contexts. If we go to the next slide. And so see here, you can see our deeper learning stool where we have each of those components, and that the things that will help model that is our instructional framework, because it's based on the workshop model, and then the modeling process, which is there in the blue circles, where students get to kind of play with mathematics and explore and develop their own definitions and algorithms throughout the instructional process. Next slide. So the tools for instructional design that you need to have ready before you begin planning your instruction are our curriculum and instructional frameworks, the standards deconstruction and unit planning tool, the coherence map, and the Solvus platform. So you want to be sure that you have those readily available so that when you start planning and looking at the Solvus platform, you see where you can integrate those components. Next slide. The first thing I want to show you within the Solvus platform is the standards, rigor, and coherence. At the beginning of the overview for the entire book, there's the wheel here that has all of the topics by standards and then the number of lessons within. And then in each unit, you also will have a page that describes the topic, the sequence of the lessons, and the standards that are aligned to those lessons. So here you have the topics and then the standards and what lessons go with those. This will be very helpful in determining what specific lessons or topics you need to cover and provide more practice on. And then we go into guide and engage, and this is where we're going to launch the lesson. These three items within the Solvus platform, the solve and discuss it, explain it, and explore it, they are excellent options to pull in for that guide and engage, because it's going to get students questioning and thinking about a real world context and how the mathematical concept applies within the real world. Some questions you need to consider when you're planning instruction is what might be a strategy to use that would promote student discourse during this point in the lesson, and what strategies and representations do students already know how to use and will be bringing to the lesson. So Chris, will you go to the Solvus platform and show us where to find the solve it and discuss it, explain it, or explore it?
Yes, I sure will. Here is your homepage for the landing, and I'm on the browse platform, so I'm going to go into 7th grade math. And here's the layout of our table of contents page. The page I was showing you right here is from the teacher's edition. It can also be found in the teacher's program overview. But to get into a lesson, you would keep scrolling down, and our program is divided into topics. So we're going to go into topic 2 today, analyze and use proportional relationships. And we're going to look in lesson 2.2-1. When we get into the lesson level, you will see that it has different areas of study and different areas of focus. And the one that Sarah was talking about was the problem-based learning, and it's called an explain it in this lesson. So we would click on that, and it has it right there ready for the students. This is what they would see on their screen. They have tools over here that they can use on the right, including drawing pins, a calculator, items like that. But up at the top, there's also a button for tools. And they have many tools up here they can use, additional math tools, which includes counters and many different things. We also provide access to a Desmos graphing calculator, and also a couple of the scientific calculator and Desmos geometries that students can use and take pictures and put them on this page when they're explaining their thoughts through this action right here.
Thank you. And it's my understanding that each lesson has either an explain it, solve and discuss, or explore it. They're not all three within one lesson, correct?
That is correct. All of the lessons in middle school would kick off with a problem-based learning activity that is one of those three types of problems.
Excellent. I just didn't want everybody trying to find all three. So it's just one of the three.
Right.
Then we have our explore and apply piece of the instructional framework, and within the Solvus platform, they have the 3-act tasks, which many of you have seen within our curriculum frameworks, and here they are already embedded, which is excellent, so that you can do them digitally. There's the other option of intentionally choosing problems throughout the lesson so that you can be intentional about the connections made between the representations that our students are using. And then one of my favorites is the convince me. So there's this blue question here to the left that says, how does the definition of equivalent ratios help you solve the problem? That convince me piece, those questions will really help drive this understanding that students are getting from the lesson in that explore phase and moving into that apply and then synthesize and reflect stage. So will you please show us how to find the 3-act tasks within the Solvus platform?
I will do that. Going back to our Realize platform, we're going back to this is the lesson level, but we're going to go back to the topic level, okay? And here at the topic level, you're going to see that lesson 2.1 that I was at. If you keep scrolling down, we placed the 3-act math task at a place where we feel it's appropriate. So we would want students to cover these lessons 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4 ahead of time. But then the 3-act math task would come right here. Now, if timing were better, you could move it down below lessons 2.5 and 2.6. But to click on it, there are different parts of the 3-act task. And it gives you a teacher math modeling page where you can read about it. And then the mathematical modeling places where it shows the Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 videos that are very beneficial for kids to have an opportunity to model and to discuss their questions in math.
And an adaptation that you could use with NTI is students complete that first act on their own and come to the synchronous session with their ideas and kind of that first piece worked out and have a little discussion, then move into that second act during your synchronous session, and then use our Google breakouts for students to discuss and collaborate, and then work through the remaining acts during your synchronous session. So there's a lot of adaptations that you can do so that students come to class prepared with something to discuss. And during class, we can actually use that time to discuss and make those connections with the representations. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Also for Explore and Apply, there's this piece called the Math Excel, which can be used to choose those intentional problems. There's a lot of different types of problems, and they have challenge problems within the platform for you to be able to use and really drive home the learning goal for that lesson. So Chris, will you show us more about the Math Excel within the platform, please?
Let's go look at it. Going back to our topic 2, where we were, okay, we go back to the main topic page from the 3-act math. And we're going to go back into lesson 2.1 where we started. Here was the explain it that we showed earlier. And then we keep going, and here are the example problems that you could use. But the Math Excel becomes the practice, okay, for the students with the problems. And there's also a Math Excel for school additional practice if you feel like they need more practice. But opening it up, let's look at what we have. We have some problems that our students are going to have to find the answers of it, okay? The nice thing about this Math Excel is it gives you question help if a student is working at home They can access assistance there. There are videos that they can watch that will help explain it to them. The animation to show them how it would be solved with another problem. And then once again, those math tools that we talked about earlier, they always have access to those to create their math pictures. But you can go through and you can see that some of the questions are challenges and that some of them are just basic questions on computation and fluency. But that question help box is always available to the students to get some assistance, whether the teacher be there or not. So that's always helpful on this Math Excel part of our program.
And that is an excellent opportunity to use the Math Excel for those asynchronous learning opportunities because of that question help box with the videos and the tools there. So if students were struggling, they could just go to that question help box, get the help that they need, and still move through the different problems that they're asked to do. So that's a great tool to use for asynchronous learning opportunities. Thank you. And next slide. So then we have the reflect and synthesize section of our instructional framework. And there's a couple different pieces within the Savas platform that fit really well within this piece. The key concept, at the end of each lesson, you'll have the key concept and there will be a question or a problem for students to answer. And so that's a way for you to really use that synthesize and discuss whole group discussion to drive home that key concept for that lesson. The blue questions will help you bring out the focus of that learning target, for that lesson as well. And then they have the problems for do you understand and do you know how? And this is where we can really bring in the different mathematical representation students use and make connections and make sure they really are understanding and know how to do the learning, the concept and procedural fluency that we discussed during the lesson. Some questions to consider when you're planning is how might opportunities for student reflection and sense making be incorporated using that key concept idea? And then as a facilitator, how will students share their work and reasoning to make connections between those strategies and representations? So Chris, will you just show us within a lesson on the Savas platform where we can find those do you understand, do you know hows, and those blue questions so they can see it in the platform, please?
I sure can. I'm going into the teacher's edition now, and I've used in the upper, when you go into it, in the upper right, there's a menu button. There's a menu button that you would click and go to table of contents. Okay? And then we're going to be in topic 2. And we're going to go down to the visual learning. It's hiding from me. Well, I tell you what. Let me go.
There it is. Just go back.
Did I just lose it?
Right there.
Okay. There we go. And here's the visual learning page, and you can see it here so the teachers have the questions ahead of time. We have a saying in Savas, what's in blue comes from you, and what's in black is what you want the students to give you back. So that's a nice way to think about these questions ahead of time when you're asking them. Now on the digital page, on the Realize platform, we're going to find it here. And this is what the student page would look like. They would have it access to it digitally, and they can solve it digitally right there.
Great. And so you can see as a teacher and facilitator of the discussion, how the teacher edition with the blue questions will help you drive that conversation with students as they complete those components within the lesson. Thank you. And next slide. Yes. So now we're going to talk about some enrichment and interventions. The enrichment, there's 2 really awesome pieces of the platform called the STEM projects and the PICA project. So the STEM project is, related to the STEM fields. And so there's always this overarching project for the unit. And then you also have a PICA project where there are 4 different projects that students can choose from to study the lesson and the concepts within the mathematics even further. So if you can show us where those are, because I think teachers are really going to want to know how to access those so that we can work towards creating backpack artifacts.
I sure can. Going back to our Realize homepage, our landing page, not all of your information, like Sarah's just shared, is in the lesson 2.1, okay? Here's the STEM project right here. And if we click on it, it opens all of the information there with a video to get the students started. And you see that you can assign it. You would be able to assign it to a class by the start date and to the group or whatever. And that would be available to them. And then all of the pieces of the STEM project that are needed for the teacher and the students. Then if we go back to the topic screen, right below the STEM project, we would have the Pick a Project. And here are all of those pieces and tools that the teacher would need. We even create a scoring rubric for you, which is very nice. And we have a rubric that is editable because we know not all teachers are going to want to go by our rubrics that we've created, but to have your own that you want to create, which shows a more accurate picture of your teaching and the students' learning.
Excellent. And then the rubrics, was nice with that editable piece. If teachers use the success criteria identified in our curriculum frameworks, you can build those into those rubrics. So that's an excellent way to use that piece and incorporate our curriculum frameworks as you move forward too. And then after enrichment, we do have the intervention piece. So there's these great tools, the math diagnosis and intervention system, and then specific intervention lessons that are aligned to the specific misconceptions for students. And so you can identify what the misconception is and then assign these lessons based on what misconception students have. So please show us how to access those lessons and where we can find those.
Okay, let's go back to the topic page. Wait, let me go back one more page. I'm back on the table of contents page right here, notice, and the intervention lessons are right here. So you would click on those and it has intervention lessons for each of the clusters, okay? They're all there. They can be printed, they can be edited, okay? All of that kind of thing, customized. So they are all available for you. Then right below the intervention lessons, we would have the MDIS, which is Math Diagnosis and Intervention System. And it comes with different pieces of it that you can focus on certain areas with students that might need that extra boost in that area of math.
And I could see teachers looking at this combined with their MAP scores and those domains within the MAP score and aligning the booklet that they need from MDIS with the domain from the MAP score that students may need intervention on. So that's a great way to bring in the MAP data and align it with the tools within Savas to use. And then also the intervention lessons, they can be used as a scaffold and support as you're introducing a new topic within math as well, so that we can get those misconceptions before they start to appear with the grade level content. So if we can go to the next slide. Okay, so that brings us through the integrating the Savas content into our instructional design. And I'm going to hand it off to Christy to talk about how to use Savas and our curriculum and instructional frameworks to develop playlists.
Okay, so as Chris mentioned earlier, the playlist is actually housed in my library in Savas, and it is really a place where you can gather your resources and you can kind of organize your lessons. I know Chris showed you a little bit about it earlier, but some things I found useful. And we don't have to watch these right now. These are just really more for you to come back to if you would like. But on the right is, hold on 1 second. Sorry. It's okay. On the right is just a cheat sheet, kind of. It takes you step by step on how to make a playlist. And on the bottom is literally like a 1.5-minute video that is very short and sweet and shows you how to make a playlist also. So something I really wanted to point out too is that as being part of the deeper learning team, we often, when we're planning deeper learning experiences like performance assessments and project-based learning units, we often as a team use the 4P planning template. So we always start with the purpose and products. And in my head, when looking at these playlists, these would be a great place for what the process, the in-between, where you're doing your mini lessons and the students are really, you're intentionally teaching those standards, but you may have already introduced the purpose and the product so that there's something driving them towards wanting to learn those standards and that content. So like I said, the playlist, I think, fits very well within the process of the 4P planning template. Something that's great is also students can work at their own pace, and it can be differentiated and based on students' needs. So yes, next slide, please. Okay, so this is just a template that Sarah created. It kind of connects it to the parts of math and it kind of breaks it down so that you can see how you can find things from Savas and other resources that fit within each of these categories. And so on the next slide, she's actually given us an example of one that's filled out. So obviously when you use the playlist in Savas, it'll look a little bit differently, but she's showing you how you can gather these resources that will fit within your math unit that can be both synchronous and asynchronous. So she has highlighted in red are all the Savas material or Savas parts, and in green are the parts that she has pulled from IM. And then in blue, she's highlighted things that she might connect in with a synchronous lesson. So not only can a playlist contain resources that you might use for a synchronous lesson, but they can also contain resources that you would use asynchronously. And she's just showed you how you can organize these. I know teachers also have a lot of, or some have experience with HyperDoc. So you can, this is very similar to a HyperDoc. So this is just an example so you can kind of see where you can gather resources, whether it's with IM and Savas or, as he mentioned earlier, YouTube videos, and you can still meet the needs of your unit plan and your math content, but having it all kind of in one place just as a visual. And so these are the goals for our next section. Integrating Savas content into instructional design, developing playlists, and integrating with Google Classroom. And I'm going to pass it on.
Yes. All right. So now that you have heard all of that great information, now teachers integrating Savas in their Google Classroom. Next slide, please. All right. So first, where teachers will get to Savas, teachers will access Savas by navigating to Clever from the JCPS Quick Links folder. So if you are logged into your Google Chrome browser, you will see JCPS Quick Links, and then you can access Clever through there and click on Savas Easy Bridge. So that is where they can gain access to Clever. Next slide, please. All right, so once they are in Clever with their JCPS credentials, you will click on Savas Realize. So when you first click on classes, this will appear and prompt you to add the classes. So you do want to import your classes from Google Classroom because we are using Google Classroom as our platform. Next slide, please. So once you are in with your JCPS account, you do want to select your JCPS account and press Allow. This will allow Savas to have access to our Google account so we can import those Google Classrooms. Next slide. And so after you have imported your Google Classroom, you do want to select the class that you want to import. And also, you want to add the Savas Realize programs to our classes. From this screen, please keep in mind that you can only add programs to the class one at a time. So this is a list of all of the programs, and you can select all of Savas Realize programs that you want associated with this particular class in Google Classroom. So after you have found all of your curriculum that you want to use for that's under Savas Realize, you can click Import Class. Next slide, please. So after you have completed adding those classes, you can add realized programs to the rest of your classes and then click Finish and View Classes. So that is after you have imported all of your Google Classroom into Savvis. All right. So now that all of your classes have been imported, you will see them under the Classes tab in Savvis, just like the one below. And there are several different options for the class. You can view assignments under the Assignments tab. So any assignments that you have assigned to those classes, you will see under the Assignments tab. There's also a nice calendar view, so just like within Google Classroom, students can see their assignments underneath the calendar view as well. And for you as a teacher, you can hide old classes. So if you are no longer teaching that class, or now it's a new semester or trimester, you can hide that class. And if for whatever reason you need to import additional classes, you can import additional classes from your Google Classroom. Next slide, please. All right. So now adding assignments. So the very first time that you can add an assignment, your screen will look like this. And that is the second option. And we want to find items to assign by exploring your programs. And that is the very first time that you click on the Assignment tab in Savvis. All right. Next slide, please. And then to add additional assignments, you do want to go to Browse, select the program you want to add to your Google Classroom, and now you can find that content to add to your class, and you can view the content there. Right now, it is in a list view, but if you prefer a thumbnail view, that view is there for you as well. So you can view that content in thumbnail view or list view. Next. So once you have located your assignments, you do want to click Assign to add to your Google Classroom. And just like Chris stated earlier, you can edit the title, the start date, due dates, and select the class that you want to add to the assignments to Google Classroom. Once all that information is filled out, once you have located that particular content and fill out that information, you can click Assign. And that assignment will be assigned to your students. Next slide, please. All right, so we just want to leave you with a tip. So when you click on assignments, you can see the completion of the entire class or by individual students. And which is really nice in the Savvis platform, is that it will tell you if that student has not clicked on that Savvis assignment in Google Classroom, because it will give you the needs to connect next to their name. So that is a tip that you will know that that student has not logged into Savvis, and we may want to reach out to our students to see if they need any additional support. So that is really nice in the Savvis platform. Next slide. So yes, if you have teachers who are added as a co-teacher in Google Classroom, they will have the same permissions as you in your Savvis classes. So if you have any co-teachers, they will have the same permission as you in your Savvis classes, which is really good as a co-teacher in Google Classroom and Savvis. Next slide. So now we want to talk about how students access assignments with Savvis in Google Classroom. For students, they will go through Google Classroom. They will see all of their assignments in Google Classroom. So they will they will see a bar just like in Google Classroom that has their Savvis Realized assignments. They will click on that assignment and they will be redirected to the Savvis Realized digital curriculum, all from within Google Classroom. And then they will have access to their Savvis Realized. Next slide. So to set up their JCPS account, they will select their JCPS account they want to use. And just like teachers, they will click Allow to give access to their Google account. Next slide. So once Savvis has launched, they are ready to set up your account and they can choose their preferred language. Next slide. They can also pick a profile icon, pick a background image to their home page the same way that our teachers are doing it as well. Next slide. So now after they have chosen their background and they have set up their account is now ready. So they click let's go. So now that students have located their work, they are finished turning it in and they want to turn it in. So now we are going to talk about how students turn in their work. So students, again, will find and access their Savvis accounts in Google Classroom. Once accessed through Google Classroom, this is the screen that we're talking about, how students can look for their assignments right there, all within the Savvis Realized platform. This is their home screen. Next slide. So after students have completed their work, they can add a comment and they can attach a file to the work they are turning in, which is really nice. It's the same setup as it is in Google. And then after they have done those two things, if they have something to attach or if they want to add a comment, they can click turn in. So after they click turn in, it will ask them, are you sure? Are you sure they want to turn it in? The students can click yes. After they have clicked yes to turn it in, they will see the green check mark, and that means that they have successfully turned in that particular assignment. Next slide. So we talked about how teachers access Savvis through Clever. We talked about how students access Savvis through Google Classroom, how students turned in their assignments through Savvis. So now we're going to talk about how teachers grade their work. So to grade their work, they can add a comment to their work. They can review and score the entire assignment, one student at a time. So if you're talking about those playlists and you want to view those multiple assignments all at one time, they can view, for example, Danielle's Washburn's, all of her assignments all together all at one time. If you are only looking at that one particular lesson that you want to review, under show activities, teachers can review and score all students one page at a time. So that's kind of nice. Teachers will have two views on how they can grade and review and score those activities. Another huge tip is that as students complete assignments, they are automatically graded in Savvis, and it is automatically turned in through Google Classroom. So they don't have to go to Google Classroom to click turn it in. The really nice thing is that once they click turn into Savvis, it automatically turns it in through Google Classroom, which is a game changer for our students. Next slide. So we just want to leave you with the Savvis support sheet. As we are experiencing Savvis all together as a district, there is a tip sheet or support sheet that is out there. There are videos out there and resources for our teachers to support. All right, next slide. I think that would... Yes, so if you have any questions, this is our contact information. We do have Sarah Downs, which is the amazing math lead, and she is right there. She is wearing her orange just like me because it is National Bullying Prevention Day and Unity Day. And we also have Casey, and he was on a little bit earlier. He is our amazing math coach, Danielle Washburn, which is myself, and then we do have Christina Mudd, which is our deeper learning resource coach. And huge shout out to Chris for running the slides behind the scene and for just going back and forth between that. We could not have done this without you, Chris. So huge shout out to you. All right. So at this time, I think this concludes our Savvis training. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to reach out to one of us and we can be there to support. I just want to leave you with tomorrow. Again, it's another amazing day for us to learn from each other, and that is the Middle School Social Studies DBQ. And then in the afternoon, it is the Middle School Science Savvis episode. So we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.